Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming support card banner, as well as the upcoming Uma banner that'll be dropping here in the next few days in Umamusume. Now for the support card banner, it's just going to be a rerun of Rice Shower Power, as well as Machikani Fukukitaru Speed. But for the Uma, it's going to be another frontrunner. This one being quite different than Ines Fujin in that it's another Runaway that'll be dropping. So she will be our second one. Now, her entire kit is going to be more revolving around longs versus Silent Suzuka. But first, we're going to take a look at the support cards. As they are a rerun, we can go over them real quick, and then we'll take a look at Mejiro Palmer and whether or not you're going to want to pull over her. And so at the support cards, Rice Shower Power being the card that came alongside Rico. The first anniversary buffs that we got early pretty much killed that card off quite quickly. Now you potentially could be using it, say, for Tokyo 2400 instead of using Super Creek to get your Swinging Maestro heal and potentially still getting enough stamina. But outside of that, this card is pretty much going to be dead from this point forward. And I would say a very easy skip on that aspect. And then kind of the same thing with Machikani Fukukitaru Speed. While she is still very good in Trackblazer, if you've been doing any runs at all with anything outside of her, you know, with like Kita-san Black, Biko Pegasus, Shinko Windy, NTR, you're still able to hit your stat marks. And the bigger thing is, I really don't like the fact that she really doesn't have a good skill paired with her. And while she can kind of help a lot with the stats, in the sense that at MLB, she brings a crap ton of stats across the board to help with those early races, that is the main value that she provides. And outside of that, there are just a lot of better options. And to me, she's not going to last much longer. I do know she does have value in other scenarios coming up in the future, but there's going to be so many alternates to her that she's a very easy skip at this point. At this point, if you're wanting another speed card, you should be saving up for Summer Maruzenski, even if you're not doing frontrunners, or worst case, you're also needing to save up for Agnes Tachyon Speed alongside Light Hello. So now, with that out of the way, let's take a look at the Uma that's dropping here with Mejiro Palmer. Now, she's another frontrunner. I really like my frontrunners. Although she will be one that I will be skipping, primarily because I'm kind of lacking pulls and needing to kind of save up, but because you really, Runaways at this point and going into the future, because right now you can't really build her as an ace Runaway because Trackblazer you're not able to. So you kind of have to think of her from coming up into Grand Live. When we take a look at her stat bonuses, the bonuses are to Guts, Stamina, and Speed. Then when you get to the aptitudes, you're going to really see where she's going to shine, and that's going to be at medium and longs. She is turf A and front A. She cannot do miles, which means even if you don't want to run her as a runaway, she's going to be a pain in the butt to run in Trackblazer, just for the simple fact she is F in mile. But when we look at her kit, she is really tailored towards longs as a runaway for longs versus Silent Suzuka, who didn't perform as well. She was more targeted towards the mediums and miles. Now, when we get down into it, what makes her really good on the longs? One thing is in her ult here, or her unique, she has a built-in heal, which is nice. Just having a heal in her ult, that gives you your typical gold recovery heal, alongside also having a speed increase in the mid-race. And as a runaway, the condition of being in that front of the pack, top two, very, very likely. And now if she's not in the front of the pack, you're already screwed with her. Or there's another runaway, which then you're also screwed because you're going to run out of stamina anyway. So very easy to activate mid-race skill to help keep her in the lead. You're going to see that with the entire kit is built around keeping her in the lead on longs. So you have Playtime's Over, an easy one that just give her a speed boost if someone's coming up behind her. Of course, you have Front Runner Straightaways, a skill that can give her some velocity. But one skill that's been kind of bad, and you really don't want to use on anyone, I would even have used it on Runaway Suzuka, although it could have some value because it's kind of like how her ult worked, which is going to be keeping the lead and the gold version built into her kit, Vanguard Spirit. Now, we really have only had access to it in the Saiyan Sky and Mejiro Palmer Guts card. Really just bad overall in pretty much any of the Umas you've built for the longs. But her having it built in and being tailored to longs, she will actually be able to activate this one pretty easily because she just has to have that decent distance, which Runaways will have there. And having that built-in heal, now if you bring another heal, which you'll really want to have, I can see her being very, very strong in that aspect. She has See You Later, which is gold playtimes over as well, so a very strong skill to help keep her in the lead as people or other frontrunners start getting closer to her towards the end of the long track. So she is got pretty much everything in her kit to help get her into position as a runaway and hold that position. And then also down here are the skills from the events. Of course, you have Runaway, which you can't get on her at this point. And then you have Frontrunner Savvy, which is very nice to have. Now, she doesn't have groundwork built in, but she does basically have one of her greens, which means she really only needs 2 more, unless you want to count early lead / taking the lead and maybe concentration as potentials as well. Now, when you take a look at her evolutions, when we eventually get those, she does get the evolution to See You Later here. That makes it basically, I think, last longer, right? It goes from 3 seconds to 4 seconds, and it's at the same speed. So nice for the longs. The longer it lasts, the better, especially because of the multiplier it has on the timer. So it's a pretty significant increase there. But then you also have the other evolution to Vanguard Spirit, that I believe does pretty much the same thing. Yeah, 3 seconds to 4 seconds increase. And then we also have the other upgrade, so another evolution to it, which this one makes it still 3 seconds, but a bigger speed increase at 0.45. So both fairly similar on the upgrades there, just making them last longer or being a little bit stronger there overall. Now, one of the big negatives coming out of her, now, to me, she's going to be more, if you're really wanting to try and build her as an ace, it would be for the Arima Keenan. It's going to be much harder to build her to survive on like the Tenno Show Spring, which will be the next long after the Arima Keenan. We really just alternate between those two, the 2500 as well, and then the 3200. We really don't see the 3000 again. Now, one of the big negatives is, one, you can't build her in Trackblazer, but there's no more longs in Trackblazer. So no real loss there. But we also have the fact she has a built-in gold that comes with Light Hello. This is the gold that Light Hello will give us in Grand Live. So coming into the Arima Keenan, that'll be coming right up, our next long, which is where she'll be strong. You already pretty much have a wasted built-in gold because you're going to have easy access to it through Light Hello. Now, I mean, you'll get a discount, of course, but I'd rather have something else built in to make her even better, to pair that with See You Later. So you have that loss, and then we're not going to see the Arima Keenan for quite a while. And outside of that, to me, she's more of a rabbit, like we see, like we saw with Pisces Cup. A lot of people, myself included, built a Silent Suzuka to really push their front runners forward, and then let the other front runners pass them to take the win. That's going to be the situation you're going to see a lot with Runaways going into the future as more and more skills get added to the game, as it's going to be just harder and harder for them to maintain that lead as the other front runners are just popping off skills, constantly catching up to them, and then eventually passing them. And they'll get worse and worse as time goes on because of that. And so for me, she's going to be a very easy skip. I mean, one of the reasons I pulled for Ines Fujin was her being very good for parent making. The fact that Light Hello is going to give us playtimes over in Vanguard Spirit, the white versions of playtimes over here, and getting keeping the lead spark really doesn't matter for other Umas. I find that she's not going to be good for parent making, and unless you're really wanting to get a runaway, maybe you don't have Silent Suzuka, she's going to be your option here. But then again, realistically, when it comes to building a rabbit as well, I don't care if they can survive anything. I want them to fall off early from my other front runners. And ultimately, to me, makes her an easy skip here. Now, kind of looking at what we have around here, if you still want that runaway, what you're kind of having to sacrifice at this point, we still have a decent amount of time for the next big pole banner, because we have all of May. I've pretty much considered all of May pretty easy skips, unless you have like an Oshi in here. And until we get to the Summer Maruzensky speed card. This is like the big one coming up. Now, of course, we have a couple Umas in here that I think are decent priority holes, but they're decent pulls on selectors versus picking them up now and wasting pulls on them because of the value isn't going to be here immediately. One of them is going to be the Karin Chan wedding, as I mentioned. We don't have to worry about needing her to be like meta level. I mean, if she's your Oshi, of course you can pull over her. But meta level, she's going to be very strong in a single League of Heroes that's much farther in the future. You just got to pick up one of the selectors before that, and then you can get a copy of her. So that one's easy skip. You have Inari 1, which I think will be pretty decent if you're trying to get another Dirt Uma. But there's so many other options as well. Sweep Tosho, having the first copy of the first instance of Restraint. But like these are all easy skips. These are just minor things that you might want to pull for them on, especially if they're your Oshi. Seiyun Sky for frontrunners. If you don't have hers right here, paired alongside Narita Bryan, both good alt inherits, and an easy way to pick them up there. And of course, Gold Ship for your Team Trials Umas, or if you're loving the debuffers for mediums. Now, debuffers are a lot easier to build, as I've mentioned. I think I've heard other people mentioning. Very easy to skip and just use a borrow to build your debuffer with somebody else's Gold Ship versus doing it yourself, because you don't really need her yourself. Because they're easy. They're not like an ace where you're trying to min-max the stats, where you're going to want to have both parents. And so realistically, you have into Summer Maruzenski, but then not too long after her, of course, you have like Kopano Riki, and then Agnes Tachyon at speed, and Light Hello. So many other options out there. Mejiro Palmer, while she is another runaway, to me, they kind of fall off outside of being for a rabbit kind of build. And so Silent Suzuka is good enough for that. And that is why I would consider her a pretty easy skip for most people. That's going to be pretty much it for this video. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.